So plants, they have energy and they use it, and we take the energy and use it for fuel in our cars. So I was wondering whether the fuel that we put out in the air, the plants could take that carbon and reuse it to make their food, and the whole process could start over again using biofuels.
Yeah, my name's John Greenler, and I direct education programs for the Wisconsin Energy Institute and the Great Lakes Bioenergy Research Center. Yeah, I really like this question for a number of reasons. You know, is the biofuel cycle complete? Most fundamentally, the answer is yes, because when we think about, you know, where do biofuels come from, we start out by growing plants out in the field or in our forests, wherever, and all of that biomass, you know, that's represented in those plants essentially comes to us through photosynthesis. So photosynthesis, you know, the energy comes from the sunlight, but the matter actually comes from carbon dioxide, largely in the atmosphere. And that CO2 is fixed you know, from a gas into a solid through that photosynthetic process and forms the mass, the weight of that plant material. So really, to start out with, we've taken carbon out of the atmosphere and we've locked it into that organic plant material. We then, you know, go some additional steps, and we take that solid material, we essentially turn it into a liquid. Initially breaking it down into sugars, and then we use those sugars through fermentation to make any of a number of different types of fuel, including ethanol. Then we can take that ethanol, put it into our car, go through the process of combustion, including one of the main, you know, products of that combustion is CO2. So we're putting carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere where we got it in the first place. So we can definitely, you know, trace that, that matter, that carbon, through a very clear cycle. You know, our industry today, in terms of ethanol as a biofuel, largely relies on corn grain. The good news, and the research, you know, that we're doing extensively here at the university, in part through what's known as the Great Lakes Bioenergy Research Center, is looking at using fibrous plant material, so not grain material, but the leaves and stems, the corn plant, the cob, all of that, we can actually take that material to make a fuel as well. The good news is when we look at using these fibrous plant materials instead, we can be much more efficient in terms of how much energy is required, how much fertilizer is required, and correspondingly really reducing significantly the amount of carbon that we'd be putting into the atmosphere, you know, trying to really minimize or even mitigate, you know, climate change.